So, in the interest of journalistic integrity and accuracy, we need to make a slight correction to something that was said last week.
Uh-oh. Did we screw up?
Well, not maliciously, but we made an incorrect assumption.
Okay. I like incorrect assumptions.
Anyway, you want me to kick it off?
Yeah, why not? Go for it.
Ed Sanchez, podcaster extraordinaire in my own mind of 4+ years. Coming to you live. Well,
sort of.
Won't be live when you get it, but
live to tape.
Live to tape. Just having fun. Hope we're entertaining and informing. And yeah. Over to you, Phil.
Wow. Way to kick it off. Strong start there, Ed. Strong start. I'm Phil Royal, and I'm here. I promised last week that I would have read some of these articles, and best I could do is glance at them. But still...
One stuck out, though, and you're like, oh, we have to talk about this.
Yeah, you weren't even going to... you kind of, you're like, yeah, we don't need to talk about that one. But I'm going to save that for the end. The one that I'm most interested in, I'm going to save for the end in this amazing EV podcast that we do, where combined we have like 50 years of experience doing automotive content. Isn't that scary? Crazy. That must mean that you're really old, and I'm just like, I've got like 5 years experience. We're going to go with that. Okay, what did we screw up on? What did we mess up on?
Okay, so when we were talking about the low-cost Model Y and Model 3 last week, I speculated they had LFP battery packs.
Which would make sense.
Which would make sense since they have had in the past. However, I subsequently found out they are not, at least the US spec models are not LFP, they're NMC packs, but with fewer cells, I guess, in the long range and the premium models. So the reasons for that, previously the previous, I guess, the SR Plus or the entry-level Model 3 had a CATL LFP pack. Then they discontinued that model. So they've kind of reintroduced it. And so I assumed, oh, it's got a LFP pack. So yes, I was incorrect about that assumption. So
do you think this is due to
battery
supply issues, like tariffs on
battery supply tariffs? I think some uncertainty in the supply chain, probably. I think that probably had something to do with it.
To your everyday consumer, what difference does this make? None.
Absolutely nothing. So anyway,
to EV nerds, this could be like
EV nerds, yeah. Yes. But, so there you go.
Yeah. All right.
I'll tell you what does have an LFP pack, though.
Oh, as far as we know this week. Does the Bolt have an LFP pack, the new one?
The new Bolt has an LFP pack. I believe CATL, but that's not authoritative. Yes, so we finally have official specs on the long-anticipated new Bolt. So the big headliner here, I think, is the price. So without the tax credit, under $30,000.
Which is where last week's Model Y Standard Edition should be.
Should have been, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a good price, is it not, for your base model entry-level EV?
Yeah, this puts it below the new Leaf as well, I believe. So...
Does the new Leaf still have what charging does that use? Is
that's the weirdo? It's an ACS on one side and J1772 on the other. Remember?
Okay, so as long as they're doing something weird. All right, back to the Bolt. So $30,000, and whoa, you've got a note here. Base LT model arrives at $28,995 a few months later, so it's even cheaper than $29,990.
Even cheaper.
Wow.
So 65 kilowatt hour LFP pack, 255 mile range, which is actually slightly less than when it first came out. I believe it was a 264 mile range, I want to say. So tiny, but I mean, the EUV was 247, so it's effectively the same.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah.
Plenty for, I think, car in that price and size class.
Yeah, it's the amount that you need.
Yeah. The big news, I think, is the charging rate. So the old one was only 55 kilowatt DC fast charging, which was kind of like trying to fill up a swimming pool with a garden hose.
Mm-hmm.
So this one's almost triple that. So 150 kilowatt peak charging rate, native NACS connector. The 10 to 80% charge time is, I don't mean to be mean about this, a little underwhelming to me. They're saying 26 minutes, which it's okay, but I'd be more impressed if it was like 15. But
I think 15 is kind of the standard. 15 to 18 minutes is kind of the standard. Yeah. Like, that's what it should be. Mm-hmm. That's what everything should be.
Yeah. Other stats, 210 horse, so that's up 10 from the previous model. And no, I didn't hear anyone complain about that one being underpowered. So, the drive unit is actually shared with the Equinox EV, but I think maybe tuned a little differently. Also, we were talking about this last week, V2H capability, but I think it requires like a GM proprietary system, kind of like the Ford Pro Power backup or whatever.
So we could do it, but you got to spend like $8,000 to do it.
Exactly. Oh, it'll do it, but you got to buy this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't have a lot of specifics on that. So this one got a lot of the EV blogosphere kind of scratching their heads and kind of like, what does this mean? They said it would be a limited run model.
Interesting.
But they said the brand would not abandon affordability. So whatever that means.
So it kind of, what I get from that is that they're doing the opposite of Tesla, and they're releasing the base model first, and then they're going to go to the higher end, and then they'll just cancel the base model. Eventually, they're going to prime the waters with this.
For the sound of this is it's kind of a stopgap, because I think I read somewhere that 80% of the chassis is shared with the predecessor model. So this is basically a heavily refreshed version of the last model. New battery, new motor, slightly revised styling, but if you look at like the door panels and the overall, silhouette and stuff, it's basically the same car.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly kind of how to read that. I think they're bringing it out. I think they probably have something in the pipeline to replace it, I'm guessing. But the way it lined up and the blowback they got from canceling the original model.
Oh, everybody was so upset. It was like the end of the world when they canceled the last one. I think we were part of that crowd that not super happy about canceling the last one. And then they've just kind of, I guess, repackaged the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I don't know exactly how to read this. I think it's a solid car. I'm not blown away. But I think the specs are competitive for the price. Was it last week or the week before we talked about the ideal? I think it was before that, the ideal EV. So we said like 30,300 miles range, so on and so forth. So this hits most of them short of the range, and I'd say short of the charging speed. If this had a 300-mile range and could do the 10 to 80 in 15 minutes, I would say this is the ideal EV for the current market. But
so when we talked about the Model Y base model last week, there were a lot of specs. So this was 40,000, and we pretty generally agreed 40,000 was too much for your base model. That's just too high. But then when you looked at the specs, it was 225 kilowatt charging, 160 miles in 15 minutes. So we don't know if that's 20 to 80% or whatever it is, but you'd have to do the math. 320-mile range. Oh, that's like 50% charging in 15 minutes. So maybe it's comparable. Everything on it was a little bit better than the specs on this. I'm trying to click back now. So instead of 255 miles range, you were getting 320. Instead of 150 kilowatt peak charging, you were getting 225. Instead of like 26 minutes charging, you were getting 20 minutes, whatever it was, assuming that those numbers line up. I don't know what the horsepower was, but
they're claiming around 300, I think.
Yeah, so a little bit more, 300 horses out of like 210 horse. It's just a little bit better, but is that increment $10,000 better?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am. So I don't like the specs on this Bolt. I think they're okay, but they're not great. I look at the Model Y standard and go, all of those specs are fantastic. Like I'd like a little bit more here or there, but not for $40,000. I think somewhere between here is the sweet spot, and nobody's hitting it right now. 32, 33 to 35,000 with the specs right between the Bolt and the Model Y standard. That's what we need.
Yep.
Somebody hit
we'll
that.
See that. We'll see that in a few years, I think, from someone. I don't know who, but I think someone will make that car.
Yeah.
But anyway, so cool. But yeah, the cryptic language about it being a limited run model is kind of, wasn't quite sure how to read that. But I'll tell you what will be.
I mean, everything's limited run eventually.
Well, I'll tell you what is probably a much more limited run, at least in terms of unit volume, is the Ferrari Elettrica.
Yeah, which I don't like the name. Do you like the name?
Well, you gotta say it like in Italian, Elettrica.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. So this is the wheelbase of an Ioniq 5. I assumed this thing would come out and be a big honking SUV. They haven't really said what this thing is, as far as I could tell.
The profile of it is interesting. It's either a low slung crossover or kind of a fastback sedan, it looks like. I don't know.
So we don't really know much about that. It's 800 volt architecture, 4 motors, so 1100 plus horsepower.
Is it 4 or 3? I thought it was 3, but
yeah, no, I think it's 4. It's 2 front 140 horse motors and then 2 rear 415 horse motors. Okay. And I don't know how things work. I guess you make this up in gearing, but the front motor spins to 30,000 RPM and the rear spins to 25,000 RPM. So there's got to be the gear reduction drive and everything that makes up for that.
Difference in gear reduction, yeah.
122 kilowatt hour battery, which seems massive.
Yeah, it's big.
Especially in basically an Ioniq 5. Doesn't that seem really big? 350 kilowatt charging. It could charge 70 kilowatt hours in 20 minutes. I don't know. Like, everybody's giving different specs about everything. I don't know what any of this means anymore. 0 to 62 miles an hour, 2.5 seconds, 192 mile an hour top speed. This thing's like all over the place. It's a small car. It's got a massive battery. It accelerates fast. I don't know. And correct me here. I thought this spec was kind of crazy. 500 kilowatt regen on decel. So you get off the brakes and it can regen to the battery at 500 kilowatts. And I know that one of the tricks that I think it's Lucid, isn't it? That they do when you charge a Lucid on a supercharger. I may be butchering all of this. It actually uses, instead of the standard charger, it uses the regen, the hardware for the regen to go through to charge at a higher rate.
It uses the motor inverter, I think.
Yeah.
So
I wondered if this, while it's 800 volts and 350 kilowatt charging, is it actually faster? Can they actually do like some crazy voodoo magic here that I don't understand what I'm talking about, and you end up 750 kilowatt charging or something that this can do?
I don't know. I've heard some interesting commentary on this. One thing, I don't know if it's been released in some other sources, but I haven't seen any discussion on the weight of this.
Heavy.
Well,
I mean, we know a 200 kilowatt hour battery in like a Silverado and Hummer
weighs more than a Miata.
Yeah, it's like 3,000 pounds, something like that.
Yeah.
So you got to assume this is
I mean, what's funny is I guess at one point some Ferrari engineers or the CEO or somebody was throwing shade at the Chinese OEMs saying like, oh, well, they're just brute forcing everything and their cars are, unnecessarily heavy and this and that. And then, but they were, saying that before they really got into engineering an EV. And I think they kind of realized like, oh yeah, that's just kind of the nature of the beast.
Right now, that is definitely the nature of the beast.
So, I mean, if I had to guess, I would guess this is at a minimum 5,000 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I would be surprised if it was under 5,000. With that size of a battery.
It can also do 0.68 G's braking with just regen.
Okay.
Which you would hit in about, I'm trying to remember now, last time I pulled data for when I was running my RX-7, but I think I was peaking at like 1.1 or 1.2 G's under braking. I think. Not counting, taking out spikes and whatnot. So that's pretty stout stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering what approach they're going to take for it. If it's just like off accelerator, like regen, or if it's going to be modulated with the brake pedal. Because you remember, like Porsche, a lot of people say, oh, Porsches don't have regen braking. They do, but it's modulated through the brake pedal, not lifting off the throttle.
Which is the way I think it should be done. I think Porsche does it right.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be lift off and you're instantly on. I mean, sure, you could do that setting, but like Tesla, at least, I don't know if the new ones do it, but when I researched this before, you hit the brake pedal and it went to friction brakes. So it would do, if you lift it off, it would do regen. But if you touch the brakes, your brake pad would actually engage on the rotor. Porsche doesn't do that. Porsche, you hit the brakes and it regens first and then will apply friction brakes when needed.
Yeah.
And if they do that with this, like, if you could do 0.68 G's of braking, like you'd never, the Ferrari would literally never use the brake pads unless you like, even
because I'm sure a brake job on this thing would be like $20,000. So.
Yes.
So that's probably a good thing.
The other item of controversy on this is it's got paddle shifters. And you found that not only does it have paddle shifters, it also makes noises.
Yes, so but Ferrari is claiming they're authentic.
Authentic fake noises? The best kind of noises.
Genuine faux, right? So they made an analogy, which I guess I kind of get. They said the sound the Elettrica will make, they said it's kind of like an electric guitar. So is an electric guitar fake noise or is that real? I mean, neither one of us are musicians particularly.
No, I'm going to go out on a limb though and say that cars don't make electric guitar noises.
No, but
an electric guitar is designed to make that specific noise. And
okay, so this is what Ferrari is claiming. So a lot of, the Ioniq 5N, various other EVs have like engineered, like simulated noise that has no relation to the powertrain or natural frequencies or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So Ferrari's approach to this is they're taking and amplifying like the mechanical vibrations from the car and piping that into the cabin. So I guess this is a more real fake noise. I guess. I don't know.
I like the concept. I like the concept. I'd have to actually hear it. I know when I test drove AEM's Mustang, the Tesla converted Mustang, that once you take out all of the like stuff all the sound editing, but also all the stuff that the isolation that to minimize the noise and vibration and everything. AEM took all that stuff out. When you actually push the button, you could feel the center console like vibrate. You could hear it. Mm-hmm. It made noises. It felt like a performance vehicle. And I like that. You know, I wouldn't like it in a daily driver if I bought a Bolt. I wouldn't want that to be, you know, and off you go. But it definitely had some feeling to it. And so I can see where Ferrari could isolate that, because that's going to exist in everything. They isolate it like everybody else does, but then come up with a more pleasant version to present to the occupants of the cabin. I get the concept. I would have to hear it. But much like with the Ioniq 5N, I like the noises that makes.
That's more fake than this.
Yes, but I also like the noise that when I revved the Dodge, whatever that was, Challenger EV with the Fratsonic exhaust.
Fratsonic, yeah.
I like that too. Like, I thought...
Yeah,
No, but Dodge is like in your face. Like, they're trying to be irreverent.
Of any approach, I guess I respect, from what I know about it, Ferrari's approach more than anyone else's. Because at least, like, for instance, if Mazda were to do this, I'd hope they'd kind of take more of the Ferrari approach than just some completely synthesized fake noise.
Well, we know the approach Mazda takes to EVs.
They don't do them.
they do it very poorly.
They offload it to Chang'an
for
do
one
something.
generation. Then they get rid of it for the American market anyway. And they only bring the good one to not America.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll see. Again, this was still I think they're saying like 2028 when this is supposed to go on sale.
I read 26.
26.
I think I got that from
Does that mean
Ars
they're going to
Technica.
show the production model in 26, or it's actually going to be on the street?
Let me search. There will be a link in the show notes to everything that we talk about, unless what we did last week, where I forgot to put it in. Then I put it in after the episode had gone live. So some of you will have got show notes, and some of you won't. Oops. Hopefully this week I remember link in the show notes. Let's see. Ars Technica says a new EV due in 2026.
All right.
But they only say that in one image and not in the body copy. So who knows?
Yeah,
I would guess an
regardless,
unveiling.
I won't be able to afford it. So
yeah, I would guess concept unveiling.
Yeah, probably. So this is a brand you've spoken of a few times and expressed admiration for. I don't know if enough people are expressing admiration for it. So Polestar. So kind of cool cars. They're not doing so hot in China, evidently.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. Because I mean you could make the point they're kind of a Chinese, there's like a hybrid Swedish Chinese brand.
Yeah.
I mean, there were like Polestar Volvos before this, which were like the high performance. They were kind of like the AMG of Volvo, kind of, I guess. But then they decided to break it off and make it its own brand. And for a while, they were planning all these standalone showrooms and everything. So they've kind of reversed course on that. And I guess they're selling them through Volvo dealers again. But I guess in China, they're down to a single showroom, which is not exactly a great indicator of health.
Am I wrong? Aren't they all made in China?
Most of them are, yeah. Some are made in South Carolina now. And I think they make some in Europe. But yeah, a lot of them come from China.
So they're not selling well in China, so they're cutting down.
So just as a point of comparison, so we talked about the Zeekr, the refresh for the Zeekr 001 last week. Okay, so this is global sales in 2024. Polestar sold just under 45,000 units globally. Do you want to guess what Zeekr sold?
I have no idea. But I'm guessing more.
222,000.
Wow.
Now, granted, the majority of Zeekr sales were within China. I think I read somewhere outside of China, they sold like maybe 15 or 20,000 vehicles.
Yeah.
So
they sold half of what Polestar sells globally. They sold half of that outside of China.
Yeah. But within China, they're doing pretty darn well, especially, and Zeekr's considered more of a premium brand.
So is this the end for Polestar?
Yeah. It's not looking good. I think
it's a real shame.
I don't know what this means. Yeah.
I like the way the Polestar 2 looks. I mean, I wish it was lower and less less.
Yeah, but that's the Polestar 2 is kind of the outgoing old Polestar. Yeah. The 3 and 5 and whatnot. That's kind of the future.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
I like I like the looks of them all, and it's funny that you mentioned the old Polestar, because when I was on my last trip, we were staying in an Airbnb, and the Airbnb, or the house right next to us, which I assume was also being used as an Airbnb, had a Volvo wagon Polestar, like in the nice blue with the little,
but like the ice model, the 5-cylinder turbo or whatever, or 6 maybe.
Yep. And one of the guys that I was with, I was like, "Dude, that's a Polestar Volvo," and he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, before they were EVs, they were the performance art, and they were like AMG. They were cool." And he had no idea. I'm like checking them out.
So it looks like they may, again, this is highly speculative. I think Polestar's best bet, at least for the near term, to kind of get them over this rough patch, is ironically to fold them probably back into Volvo, use the Volvo distribution network, the dealerships, as a way to kind of have them, I mean, I guess in a way, kind of make Volvo the SRT make Polestar the SRT of Volvo. So it's like, okay, we got these standard Volvo models, but if you want the high performance, the Polestar, they're basically Volvo-ish, but, a little edgier. But
so you're saying that they would you think that they should drop Polestar as the EV brand and just fold it back in, and it becomes a trim level?
Keep the branding and but I think to have duplicate dealer networks for Polestar and Volvo, I don't think operationally makes a lot of sense. I think it makes more sense to have them in the same showroom.
So you'd essentially go in and buy a Volvo Polestar 3, is what you're saying?
Effectively, yeah.
And then that would be the electric version. And
I mean, kind of like, I guess you can make the case, like, for instance, most Stellantis dealers in the U.S. are multi-brand. So that would be Jeep, Dodge, Ram, Chrysler. Almost all of them are all under the same roof. So it wouldn't be much different than that. So you'd have Volvos if you want some safe and practical, or Polestar if you want some a little more exclusive and edgy. So
now the difference there is a Polestar looks very similar to a Volvo. So you set them next to each other in the showroom floor, and you go, okay, I see that these are basically the exact same thing. Just one's going to be electric, one's not. But you can see the design lines up. When you go to like Dodge, if you've got a Dodge next to the only Chrysler that exists, next to a Jeep.
Pacifica.
Yeah, next to a Jeep. These are very, very different vehicles. You could set somebody in there and say, are these made by the same company? And they would look at them from 10 feet away and go, maybe not. Maybe they're not. They're very different looking. I don't think you would put a Volvo and a Polestar next to each other and fool anybody that these are made by different companies. And so if you put them in the same showroom, I just say slap the Volvo badge on there.
So that would basically mean making Polestar trim level effectively.
Yeah. The Polestar could be the electric name. So it's the Volvo Polestar 3. But
Volvo independently is already pledged to be predominantly electric going forward. Still, I mean,
what's a pledge worth these days?
Not true. They've already backpedaled from saying we're going to be all EV by 2030. So
yeah, Dodge was moving all electric with vehicles, weren't they? And now they're back, and the Hemi's coming back, and you've got
so I don't know.
GM I think did the same thing. Like it means nothing. It means nothing.
So I don't know what the turnaround plan is for Polestar. For me personally, I don't know if and when we're going to see it in the US. I'm more excited about Zeekr. I think the Zeekr models are more interesting to me. like the 001. I would love to see that in the US. I think that's a super cool vehicle. To me, that's more appealing than anything Polestar makes right now.
So if the price was the same,
Yes.
Zeekr 001 or Rivian RX3, is that what it's called? The RX3? The little hatchback thingy?
Yeah. I would say that's kind of apples and oranges because the R3 is small. It's maybe a little bigger than a Golf.
I mean, well, I guess what I'm getting at is Chinese car or American car. Like I still, and I don't know why, I've still got something in my mind, and it's like I don't want to buy a Chinese car. And I think it's just because we are being browbeaten with anti-China rhetoric and have been for a while. And I think that has made an impact on me. And I've gone, I don't really want to buy a Chinese car.
Well, I mean, I'll to your point, if it's in my budget, I still, again, it keeps getting pushed out. I will, as soon as I can see one and drive one, I want to get my hands on an R3X for sure.
That's what it is. I'm thinking, look at me being a Mazda guy with an RX-7 in my garage, not the RX-3, the R3X. Totally different. Totally different.
I'm guessing, again, I don't know the exact pricing. My guess is the R3X, which is the super hot rod, rally, blah, blah. That's going to be around 60 grand is my guess.
It's a steal.
Now, the lower trim models, I'm thinking probably low to mid 40s. That's probably a little more in my budget. So I may end up just getting just the dual motor than the tri-motor, but whatever. In terms of the Chinese brands, I hear what you're saying, and they're being very aggressive, and I don't want to get wrapped up into the whole geopolitical aspect of it, but I know a lot of automakers kind of see the Chinese as an existential threat to their existence, and so they're scared, they're fighting back, they're aggressively trying to figure this out. I would not outright say I will not buy a Chinese brand. There were some people like in the 70s and 80s that said that about the Japanese. 90s, 2000s, they said that about the Koreans. I think some of the engineering and design the Chinese brands are doing is amazing, frankly.
So you don't have what I assume is just my mental block about buying a Chinese car.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you buy a Volvo?
That I bought into. Well, yeah.
I mean, Volvo's been Chinese owned since basically 2008.
Yeah.
Yet you don't feel any differently.
The funny part is, I mean, I'd probably buy a Polestar. The Volvos that I buy would be probably pre-2008. But I'm a used car guy.
Yeah. So, I mean, organizationally, I don't see much difference between a Volvo and a Zeekr. They're both owned by Geely. They probably have some shared engineering. I don't know. To me, it's a difference between a Chevy and a Cadillac. I mean, maybe I'm being naive about that, but I mean,
no, I
organizationally.
Yeah, no, I fully acknowledge that. I think my aversion to a Chinese vehicle is based on the propaganda or whatever that I've been fed. It's not based on much reality, I'm sure. I don't think the Chinese cars are going to come over here and spy on us and then explode with us in the cabin of the car to get rid of all of us Americans. Like, I don't think that's I don't think there's a threat from this. Like, any data that China needs to know, they've got from space or those balloons they float across America. Like, they don't need to put like GPS in the cars. Like, they can already get all this information. This is already out there. Like, there's nothing. We give that information away for free, or you can buy it from Google for because they're trying to make their billions. So I don't think there's like a national security threat, but I still have this aversion. But I fully acknowledge that I think that it's from propaganda.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out in my brains where how saying that, I'm being in that justification. I don't know. I could definitely see down the road buying a Chinese car and being like, whatever. Chinese car. Who cares?
So who's going to break this to BMW?
I was sad you put this in the rundown of GM cancels fuel cell development program, and BMW is just cranking this up, baby. What? Yeah. Who got the wrong memo?
Future and always will be.
Yes. Who got the memo that was incorrect? But in this, now you've written some notes here that they are stopping working on next generation hydrogen fuel cell development through its Hydrotech brand, which I didn't even know was a thing. Or maybe I did know it and I forgot it.
Is that like Altium?
Yeah. Production of hydrogen fuel cells for data center and power generation through Fuel Cell System Manufacturing LLC, a GM joint venture with Honda, will continue. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Like fuel cell for data center and power generation.
So they're still kind of doing it, but it sounds like not for cars.
So higher end. So like, I feel like there's a lot of good uses for hydrogen if we can get to a sustainable green hydrogen production. And one of the good arguments that I heard a while back was you take like wave generation for electricity, and then you set it in an area in like South America. There's this little cross thing, like a river that goes through part of South America and the southern part. Mm-hmm. And there's like these big waves, and you could set one of these wave power generators where it goes up and down, and the air forces, air from the waves forces the spinning of the turbine, whatever it is, science. And out comes green hydrogen. You can, or electricity, which you can then capture into hydrogen, because there's nothing for miles and miles and miles. There's nothing.
Yeah.
So then you could capture and package the hydrogen, and then you could put it on a barge, and you could ship the hydrogen to America, where we burn it up, doing American things. And or you come up with a pipeline or whatever it is, like we did with Alaska. Yeah. You do something to get it somewhere else. So and I could see where you go to very distant places and you could create green hydrogen. But outside of that, for hydrogen generation, I'm not convinced that it's doable. But then I think trains and things, maybe there's a thing there, because
here's
aren't trains diesel, but they're actually electric? Like,
yeah, basically. The trains are basically like whatever it's called now, the Ram Charger, Ram Rev.
Yeah.
Where the engine is basically just a generator for the electric motors. Anyway, the big, pie in the sky, unicorn rainbow promise of hydrogen relies on like ultra abundant electricity, because hydrogen itself is an energy carrier. It's not an energy source, because I know I'm kind of using non-scientific terms. I'm sure the hydrogen fanboys are going to beat me up in the comments.
All the hydrogen stands coming after you.
Stands. But basically, it takes more energy to create hydrogen than it yields. So, but if we live in this future of hyperabundance where we have more electricity than we know what to do with, then in that scenario, green hydrogen makes sense, because it does have the advantage of being more portable than electricity, in that if you create it and you contain it, it has, I guess, what would be considered potential energy that can be transported. Whereas electricity, you kind of have to use it where you get it, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, I mean, yes, you can store electricity in a battery, but hydrogen can do it in a lighter package, like in terms of, anyway. So yes, there are selective applications where hydrogen makes more sense, but as a general overarching, fuel of the future, this is like the magic pill panacea for everything. No. And I think that's basically what GM has come to the conclusion of. And like this, I'll tell you what was really the whopper, which was just like, wow, this was kind of like a slap across the face for the hydrogen stance. And this is in GM's own press release. It says, the company cited Department of Energy data stating 61 hydrogen refueling stations nationwide compared to 250,000 level 2 or higher EV charging locations. So if you want to talk about fueling infrastructure, and if people are trying to make the case, oh, hydrogen's competitive with EVs, not even in the same galaxy. Like, not even close.
I don't know if I fully, and I've done no research on this, fully believe the 250,000 level 2 as a number that's
level
realistic.
2 or higher. So that would include DC fast charging and level 2.
Does it also include the level 2 in your garage? Probably.
Maybe.
And I don't think you can count those. But
well, they're not public, but they didn't say public.
Yes, and that's the caveat there. But even so, say that number, make that number instead of 250,000, make it 50,000. Like, that's which still, we know that there's more than 50,000 like level 3 chargers.
I think probably just in California.
Yeah. So even if you just dump that number way down, it's still more than 61 hydrogen, and we know the hydrogen refueling, half of them go down at any given time.
And besides which, I think 45 of them, when they're operating, are in California. So it's like,
and they don't mention there the price. I read somewhere like the unsubsidized cost of basically gallon equivalent of hydrogen is about $12. Yeah, it was significantly more. There was an article about it where a guy filled up his Mirai or whatever it was, and it was like $100 or whatever it was, whereas like comparable Camry would have been like $60, something like that. It was significantly more expensive.
EV would have been like 30.
Yeah, and it didn't really get him much further. It got him like the same range or less, and cost more, and was more difficult to get to, and had to travel further, and there were broken hydrogen fueling stations. So it was like there was nowhere where it was a win. Not a single place where it was a win.
Yeah. So I think GM has kind of seen the light. BMW and Toyota are still true believers, I guess.
There's subsidies somewhere paying for that they're cashing in on, and maybe the subsidies that GM had finally dried out.
I guess. But anyway. So
you want to talk about the Vision Iconic?
I know you do.
Mercedes Vision Iconic concept. So this is kind of like out of Batman the Animated Series from the 90s that Mercedes has done. I haven't read anything about this.
But you looked at the pictures.
I looked at the pictures. Pretty pictures. That's all I really needed to look at. And I assume this is an EV. I assume that's why it is in the show notes. I assume that there are no specs on this because this is a concept. It's got a long nose. It's got the same grille that we... several episodes back, they revealed this grill, and I went, oh, that's cool. Then they put it on like a crossover the next week, and I was like, I don't really know about it. Here it's on this, now the same grill on this concept, and I'm like, man, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So giant grill, it's got a hood ornament. Glad to see that. We need to go back.
It basically looks like something Cruella de Vil would drive.
It does. A long hood, but you know what? It looks a lot like the Mercedes
Batmobile.
The what? The which?
Batmobile?
No, well, no. The Mercedes McLaren or the Mercedes SLS, they've had a couple that have a similar design. Like really long hood, kind of a fastback.
I would say the SLS AMG was a little sportier, like more like racetrack looking. This looks more kind of Art Deco, kind of ornate.
But the dimensions, more hood,
hood,
than car.
Yeah.
I don't think that this is as out there as you might initially look at. Mercedes has produced at least 2 vehicles. I mean, one of them was a rebodied Viper, basically. But they've produced at least 2 vehicles that kind of have similar dimensions to this. So I don't think this is that far off. What I don't understand is what the heck you put in the front. If this is an EV, that's a heck of a frunk that you got there, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I don't think this was designed around practicality. I think this was designed around just making a bold statement. In fact, getting back to the I think that's still the case. The EQS had basically a non-functional hood. So they actively discouraged people from opening the hood because there was no frunk, first of all. And the main reason was to access like the cabin air filter, which on those was like massive. It was like 2 by 3 feet or something. But yeah, they really didn't want people getting under the hood. In fact, they don't even have a marked like hood release. Like only like mechanics and technicians know where to reach to pop the hood. And when you do, it's, you know, a bunch of hoses and you know, circuit boards and then of course the cabin filter. So I mean, maybe Mercedes doesn't even care. They're like, who cares? Peasants shouldn't be looking under the hood anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. Peasants should not be looking underneath the hood.
So yeah, I mean, they're saying this is purely a concept. I mean, it's cool looking, but again, not at all practical.
The only reason I really wanted to talk about it was because I don't think it's as far out as you think. The interior is definitely far out there, but I don't think that this is as crazy as you might think. And I like that. I like the fact that...
Well, I could see them doing a limited run model.
I'm not talking
maybe
like this is
500 units of something like this.
I think they could do more. I don't know how much, like the SLS, how many of those they made. I don't remember any of that.
Couple thousand, I think, maybe.
Yeah. I don't think this is in the next A class or C class. No. I think this is very limited production, very expensive.
I would say probably 300,000 plus at least.
But I like it. I really like it. And I think this is what Mercedes needs to do, is stuff like this. They need to go
to stand
nuts.
out again.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the EQS and EQE, I mean, from an engineering standpoint, I'm sure they were fine cars, but they were very kind of anonymous and kind of didn't really stand out. They weren't really distinctively Mercedes.
The fact that when the Aria came out, I saw my first one and it was all black, and I thought, that's a Mercedes.
Yeah.
Like, you've got a problem with your Mercedes design when
people are mistaking Nissans.
I mistake a Nissan Aria for a Mercedes EV. This is where they need to go. This is why I liked that grille design. I thought it was bold. I didn't like it on the first crossover they put it on, but I really like this. I think this is a good direction for Mercedes to go. They should definitely do this. They will fail spectacularly because everything I like doesn't succeed. So take it for what it is, Mercedes. And I would say I'll buy one, but there's no way. You could give me one. I'll drive it if you give me one. How about that?
Sounds good.
All right. You know what else I'll do if you give me one is I'll put an end to this show and go my merry way.
Until next time.
Yeah. All the show notes, everything in the show notes. You know what I didn't say at the beginning that I always usually say?
What?
Go to youtube.com/@thewhatcar. I'm promoting this at the wrong place. You've listened to this episode. Now go and watch it. And make comments.
And if you don't have time for a full sit down, we got a bunch of new shorts now.
Oh, that's right. We have shorts. Yeah. And they are...
I have long pants too, but...
we have shorts and long pants. They're... What a short is. I was about to explain what they are, but if you don't know what shorts are, they're like reels. You don't know what a reel is? It's like a short. So
just
we've got those.
Click on the tab that says shorts.
Yep. You can share it. You can do whatever it is that you do with it and consume it.
Consume it. Until next time.
Yep. Talk to you in a week.